Give me an idea of your history in the game. You're not only a cut man, you're a trainer. You fought too,
yeah,
right?
I fought as an amateur, and then I went and worked for the PAL for quite a few years with the youngsters. And then I decided I'd like to try it on a professional level, and I've been pretty successful. I came back to training this year for the first time in about 10 years. I work for a company called Explosion Promotions, and they purchased a fighter by the name of Eric Harding, who was going to fight the greatest fighter in the world.
When you say purchased a fighter?
Well, they purchased his contract.
Okay.
And he was going to fight the greatest fighter in the world, so-called Roy Jones. And they said, well, see what you can do. He's a good fighter. See if you can improve upon his style. So the first fight they gave me, he had to fight a guy named Antonio Tarver, who was considered a murderous puncher. And my man broke his jaw, broke his ribs, and sidelined him. So he got the fight with Roy Jones. And we did quite well with Roy Jones. My man got an injury to his left bicep, which is his power hand. He's a southpaw. And I let it go as far as I could. And in the ninth round, actually, I said to him, Eric, we're friends. This is a business. But if you can't hold this guy off, we're not going to be too successful here.
Right.
I'll give you another round.
Right.
He went out and he gave it all he had. When he came back, I looked at the arm, and there was a bulge here, which was blood from the arm. So I asked the referee to come over, and then I said, would you please get me a doctor? Now, a lot of people have criticized me, saying you shouldn't have stopped the fight. It was a championship fight. It was his career. Well, I have to look at a 27-year-old man with 3 kids who I'm quite fond of, and I know I made the right decision because he's going through about 8 to 12 weeks of rehabilitation for the arm. He'll fight again. He'll probably win a world title, but that wasn't his night.
How can you possibly be criticized for
people bet on these
maybe
things.
saving a guy's arm?
People bet on these things. People have all kinds of motives. The warrior syndrome, being carried out on your shield, that might have been good for gladiators.
Sure.
But we're human beings. I'm a human being, and he's my friend, and I would do it again.
Now, when you're training, are you also the cut man?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the only time I've ever done that, because I believe that the responsibilities of a trainer to direct the fight, he shouldn't have the added burden of doing the cuts. But Eric said to me, Al, I'd like you to do both. I have that faith in you.
You're also Lennox Lewis's cut man.
I've been with Lennox since 1991.
Not a bad fighter.
I think he's the greatest fighter in the world, but I'm partial because he's my fighter.
Yeah, sure. What's he like as a guy?
He's very quiet. I've never seen him badmouth the opponents. No matter, the opponents say bad things, he just goes in and does his job. And I think he can be the heavyweight champion as long as he wants.
Well, speaking of which, he was quoted, I've got it here someplace, as saying that what he really wants is a fight with Tyson, and then he can retire. Now, first of all, what do you think of the Tyson-Lewis matchup, and do you think he really would retire after that fight?
I don't think there would be much more for him to prove, because all of the great fighters that were in his era, he's beaten. I think the fight would be similar to the Tua fight, except that Tyson has a little bit more forward motion. He would be a little more busy, but I still think that Lennox would control him. It's sort of like when you were a kid and your father used to put his hand on your head and he could hold you off and you'd be swinging.
Yeah. Well, I just picked up a baseball bat. And,
well, that always helps if you can hit.
Well, you're right. Good point.